You asked and they answered. When I first released my Alta Labs videos, there was lots of comments down below saying, I don't want a cloud controller. Well, this is now a new on-premise controller from Alta Labs. Hey everyone, my name is Monty and welcome to Inside Wire. Let me just add that there are more interesting products coming from Alta Labs this year, so be sure to subscribe and you'll find out more from them. Let's take a look at what comes inside the box of the physical controller. So we have the controller itself, which looks, just looking through the packaging, looks very similar to the 8-port switch. We have the wall mount again, which is fairly similar, and some screws to get it wall mounted. Let's open this up and take a look at it. So the device itself comes with a single Ethernet port on the front of it. There is a reset button on the side just here. And on the back, there is a 5-volt input should you need to power it up if you don't have PoE. This is mainly designed to integrate and sit straight into your Alta Labs setup. So I have the 8-port switch just here. And as I mentioned, it is exactly the same setup and the same kind of switch. The only thing on the back of it, there's a slightly different power lead. Hopefully in the future, they will look to standardize these with USB-C. So let's go ahead and get this set up and see how well it works. A couple of quick specs on these is it manages up to 1,000 devices. It has multi-site support along with a small one-time license fee of $149. That is a one-time fee and you'll never have to pay anything in the future. No monthly subscriptions to have all the features of a hardware controller. So let's plug it in and get it set up. So the first thing I will do is power up the PoE switch. I'm going to use an Ethernet cable to go from the PoE switch into here. So you can see how that looks just like so. And you can see that's already powered up via PoE. So you can see the orange light that's just come on here. And then one additional item I'm going to plug in is the access point. We can also plug that one into here, and there is a PoE out. There's 4 PoE outs on here. If you haven't seen my video on this, there is a link down in the description to an Alta Labs playlist. You can go ahead and check that out. Now, to get this all set up and out to the internet, I'm going to plug it into my existing network. And that is this cable right here. So we're going to go ahead and plug this in. You can see right here now, we have this all powered up. We have the Alta Labs on, we have the switch on, and we have the hardware controller. So let's go over to the computer and get this all set up and configured. Let me just add that you can set this up via mobile or the web browser. For me, I'm going to go ahead to the web browser and get it set up. When you get set up, once it's plugged into your network, you go to http://control.local domain. That brings you to the Alta Labs page, the setup, and then we're going to use your email address to get it activated. Once you've typed in your email address, it's going to tell you to hold fire while your new controller gets set up, and then we will take a look and run through the settings inside. Once we've logged successfully in, you can see I've got 3 new devices. I actually went and plugged in the AP6 outdoor as well, so we could have an extra item in here that we could use to test. So we have the new switch, which is running the firmware version. This does need to be running one of the later firmware versions. If there's not, there is a way to reset the firmware by just holding down the reset button. I'll put a link down in the description below, or I also heard it on one of Willie Howe's videos, so go ahead and check that one out and it will tell you how to get this reset and update the firmware at the same time. So we can see right here, we have the home base in the site manager. So if we go to the site manager itself, we can add in multiple sites. So I can type in IW Studio, for example, and then you can pick an icon for a site depending on what you want to do. So we'll go ahead there, and we now have a couple of sites which we can now select between the drop down. So the multi-site functionality is there. In the top right hand corner, it does say local, so keep that one in mind. Let's jump straight into the settings. So we have the actual setting of the system itself where we can set the time zone, add the SSH keys and SNMP. And if we go into advanced, we have also syslogs. We can choose a backup network, the DPI engine, and the loop prevention. You also have the option for backup and restore. So if you ever want to be able to download your settings and restore it to another hardware controller, or you need to factory reset and go back to a previous version, you can do that right here with this option. We have a look at the dashboard itself and we can see there's nothing adopted yet, so we can't see anything. So let's go ahead and set up the switch, and that's going to show disconnected, and we're going to do the access point and the outdoor access point as well. There we go. You can see all 3 of those are now set up. We have the bandwidth information that we've come to see with Alta Labs on this side. We have the colors, we have the versions, the addresses, how many devices are connected, what the load situation is on them at this point, and the Wi-Fi channels that are currently being used and the IP addresses. Obviously you can go in and rename these. This works exactly the same way as the other controller, so I have another video on that. Again, pop back to my Alta Labs playlist and you'll be able to see that in there. When we move to the devices tab, you can see that it's plugged into my existing network so it can find the switch. And also we have the Alta Labs hardware here itself. If you want to see any specific tutorials on Alta Labs, let me know down in the comments and I'll see if I can put some together. If the hardware option isn't for you, there are some others out there on the market from Alta Lab that you can take advantage of. We have the cloud option, which is completely free, which is more favorable to some people, or you can actually have a self-hosted controller, which is dependent on your hardware, depending on how many devices you can handle. That costs a one-time license fee of $49. So it's $100 cheaper than this. That's if you want to host it yourself. Either way, you have the full flexible options to choose whichever you want. For me, I do like the hardware controller option, and the fact that I already have one is an added bonus, and it just sits straight into my network and it just plugs in via PoE. Let me know your thoughts down on the comments in the controller below, and you tell me there what should Alta Labs bring out next. For now, this is Inside Wire, and I'll see you in the next one.